Hello, Algebra Scholars. The last section of Chapter 1, Section 1.8, has two ideas in it. The first idea is exponential notation. And as I've written off to the side here, exponential notation is a way of condensing long multiplication problems. And I've listed four examples right here. So for example, x times x times x times x. Instead of writing x 4 times, we can say that's the same thing as x to the 4th power. In the next example, we have 4y times 4y times 4y, and that's 4y 3 times, so we say that's 4y to the 3rd power. Now notice my use of parentheses here. It's really important. I'm multiplying 4y, the whole thing, by itself 3 times. What I don't want you to write, 4y times itself 3 times, you cannot write this. Because if you write it without parentheses, what you're saying is, you're just saying y times y times y, and then only one 4. But we need all 3 of the 4's in there, so the parentheses are really important. The same thing is true here because there's a negative sign. This is negative 6 5 times, so it is negative 6 to the 5th power. Now, in the final example, we have y 5 times, but we only have 3 1 time. So here is a case where we would not use parentheses. It is only y that is being raised to the 5th power, and the 3 is not. There's only one 3. So it's 3 1 time, and y 5 times. So parentheses are important. It doesn't mean that you always need them, but that means you really need to think about when you need them. The second major idea in the last section here of Chapter 1 is order of operations. And I'm sure many of you, or perhaps all of you, have seen the acronym PEMDAS before. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. But really, in my opinion, the acronym PEMDAS doesn't really tell the full story. I prefer to write it like this, where the letters still mean the same thing, but putting the M and the D on top of one another and the A and the S on top of one another underscores the idea that multiplication and division happen at the same time. Not that multiplication happens first and division happens second. They happen at the same time, but they also happen in the order left to right, which is also left out of the original acronym. The same is true with addition and subtraction. It does not, the original acronym does not mean that addition happens first and subtraction happens second. They happen at the same time, but in left to right order. So I think this is a better way of writing down the acronym, underscoring the left to right part of it as well. And here are two examples to illustrate order of operations. In the first example, there are no parentheses, there are no exponents. So next comes multiplication and division. And all that we see is division. So we need to do this division before we do anything else. So we're simply going to do 70 divided by 7, which we know is 10. The rest of the problem we will leave unchanged. We're then left with just addition and subtraction. And under the old acronym, you might be tempted to think, well, I need to do addition first and subtraction second, but hopefully with the new acronym you realize I have to go left to right. So 6 minus 10 is what happens next. 6 minus 10 is negative 4. And now negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. In the second example, we don't technically have parentheses. What we really have here are exponents, and we have to do that first. So we'll leave the 32 alone, we'll leave the division alone. Negative 2 to the 3rd power means negative 2 times itself 3 times, which we know is negative 8. Now I'm left with division and multiplication. Neither one takes precedence over the other, but once again, left to right. 32 divided by negative 8 is negative 4, and negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16. And I think we'll have time for one more example. Now here's a final example that uses all of the different pieces of PEMDAS. We see that we have parentheses here and we have brackets here. Brackets are essentially the same as parentheses, so we need to deal with those first. So doing this problem a step at a time, we're going to leave everything alone except what's inside the innermost parentheses. 8 minus 9 is negative 1. So we dealt with the first set of parentheses. We now need to deal with the set of brackets. So inside the brackets, we also have to pay attention to order of operations. Once again, notice how I'm leaving everything else alone. So inside the brackets, I have exponents. Negative 1 to the 5th power is negative 1 times itself 5 times, which is negative 1. Still leaving everything else alone. I'm going to continue to work inside the brackets. I have to do multiplication next. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, so I have 5 minus negative 3. 5 minus negative 3 is really 5 plus 3, which is 8. So at this point, all of this is really dealing with the first P of PEMDAS, parentheses, even though we were doing other PEMDAS inside of that. Now we can deal with exponents. Negative 2 squared is 4. We're now going to do division and multiplication left to right. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 4 times 8 is 32, and 9 plus 32 is 41, and there you have it.